So before this video kicks off, I just want to let y'all know, yes, this video is a little bit lengthy, but I did my best to try and encompass and go over all the important things about both of these cars. If you would like to skip to the driving portion of the video, skip to about 24 or 25 minutes, and that's where I'll start driving the Mark 7. Anyway, enjoy the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I got a pretty good one for y'all today. I'll explain why. In today's video, we'll be doing a head-to-head comparison between my 94 Lincoln Mark 8 and my 89 Lincoln Mark 7 build class. Alright, so first things first, I'll go over the pricing of this car. So this car, brand new, was, I believe, now do not quote me on this, but I believe this car was around $28,000 to $32,000 brand new. For comparison, the same year, 1989 Mustang GT went for around $12,000 to $13,000 for the GT hatchback. Now, in 1989, this car was advertised as a personal luxury sports car. Now, these cars were marketed to be able to provide amazing personal luxury features and sportiness. These particular cars, the Mark 7, was kind of really the first car to take a jab at the Europeans with their BMWs and Mercedes. Nobody really wanted to compete with their cars with providing luxury but also sportiness. Now, if you were shopping for a two-door personal luxury coupe in 1989, this was the car to have. This was the two-door coupe to have at the time. I mean, this really was the best Americans had to offer in the two-door personal luxury coupe market at the time. I mean, these cars just resemble wealth, prestige, and excellence driving down the road. If somebody saw you driving this in 1989, they knew you had money, because, I mean, this was not a cheap car in 1989. However, if you wanted a two-door luxury coupe made by an American automaker, this was the absolute top-of-the-line best car you could get. I mean, these cars really just, both of them for that matter, just kind of, they check off every single box. I mean, luxurious, they're comfortable, they have nice interiors. The Gen 1 I could be iffy about. I mean, you got a badass engine under the hood. I'll go ahead and pop the hood for you. Now, these cars came standard in 1989 with the 5-liter HO engine. They're rated about 225 horsepower. I don't know the torque numbers, but if I had to guess, around 260, 280. Don't quote me on that one as well. This is essentially an 89 Fox body Mustang with a fancy Lincoln interior and fancy Lincoln trim. Well, let's go ahead and get started with the interior. One thing I would like to point out is I absolutely love the sound the door makes when you open it. I mean, this sound just screams 1980s. I mean, just listen to that. Alright, so starting out on the Lincoln Mark 7's interior, it's pretty badass in here. It's really unique is all you can really say about it. Right here you have these nice digital gauges. Personally, I prefer to have a tachometer in the analog gauges. However, I do think they are pretty cool. You know, the Bill Blast package was aimed towards the guy who wasn't really looking for the sportiness of these cars. They just wanted a really nice car. So I guess at the time they thought, you know, these people really didn't need an RPM gauge. And all the car makers in the 1980s were throwing digital gauges and everything left and right, just trying to make them look, you know, high-tech and fancy at the time. But honestly, I prefer the digital. I prefer the analog gauges myself, personally. Now, the seat controls. This is very interesting. I've never seen a car like this. I know Mercedes kind of have something like this. But the seat controls being on the door, you know, when you're on a long drive, you're cruising, you know, you just want to lean back. You just have to reach your hand up over here. It's super cool. You know, I think it's unique. Having it on the door, I think it's cool. It's a nice little party trick. You know, when somebody new gets in my car, I'm like, hey, you need to adjust your seat. Seat controls are on the door. All right, now coming over to the sound system in this car. This car actually does have the original coaxial premium sound in it. I don't know if the back speakers are original, but they do say coaxial sound on them, so I assume they are the same brand. Now, I would rate this system at about an 8 out of 10. The speakers are super clear. They have the right amount of bass, not too much, but not too little. Everything just the right, just perfect. That's the only thing I can say about this system, is it's not too much and it's not too little. It's a good median, good sounding system. Coming over here, you have your antenna controls, which I think is pretty cool. I like playing with this thing sometimes. You can kind of see it back there. I just think it's pretty neat that you can control that. Right here you have the Bill Blass emblem. Alright, now coming over to the center console, the radio climate controls. One thing I would like to get out of the way right now is I absolutely hate, and I know that's a strong word, but I just strongly dislike this climate control system here. First of all, driving down the road, it's a little too, you really have to reach for it. When you're driving down the road, you have to take your eyes off the road to look down here. I've only owned this car for 3 weeks. This is my first Mark 7, and I find this climate control system to be very confusing. Sometimes when you press the buttons, they don't really do anything, and then sometimes the automatic mode will just randomly turn itself onto automatic and start doing things. It's actually pretty annoying, but yeah, that's kind of the only complaint I have about this interior, is the climate control system. Also, the radio, you know, I know these are first world problems, but the radio is a bit far away as well. You really kind of have to reach for them while you're driving. You have to take your eyes off the road. That's really the only annoying thing about this interior. Now, the computer in this car, you know, I don't even really use this thing, to be honest. Half these buttons don't work, actually, so I really don't even mess with this thing. It is cool. I do like to mess with the fuel economy every now and then, but it's kind of difficult to set up, whereas in the Mark 8, it's a lot more simple, a lot more intuitive, I would say, and just, it's more simple to use. This one I find very confusing to me, especially as I am new to Mark 7s. Now, this is actually a very roomy interior. I don't, you know, as a two-door coupe car, you'd expect it to be a little smaller, a little more compact, but this is not. I have a lot of room in here. I can really stretch my legs, you know what I mean? And it's just cool. Very comfortable. You know, just a very nice place to be. One thing I would also like to add is that the window controls are on the center console. I would prefer them to be on the door. However, I will say that I do think this is pretty cool, and this is a very unique placement. It is cool. I can just, you know, I usually when I drive, I'll just drive with one hand, leave my other arm resting on the center console. So when I need to roll the window down, it is cool and convenient. You can just reach down here and press each one. However, I personally would like it on the door. I can just reach, push the buttons, because I find myself forgetting that this car's window controls are on the center console. So I find myself trying to reach for something over here when they're actually over here. Now, this car does have a cigarette lighter. And it actually has a cigarette lighter for each and every person. It has a cigarette lighter over here and another one over here. But I will say, it does look cool. It kind of looks a little fancy. It's got this silver trim on it. But yeah. Now let's talk about storage area inside the Mark 7 interior. Now, there's not a whole lot, actually, because you do not have pockets on the doors. It's just this carpeting. I'm not sure why there is not a pocket on the door. I really wish there was. I find it very annoying because I have nowhere to set my phone down besides just sticking them in between the seats. My phone doesn't exactly fit inside of the center console, so there's really just nowhere to put anything. I mean, you've got the glove box, but as far as where you get into the car, you just want to take the change out your pocket you just got from the store, you want to throw it down into the pocket. There's really just nowhere to put anything. And this center console really does not fit a whole lot either. I mean, this is my hand, and I can barely even fit my hand here. This is my wallet. I can barely fit my wallet in here. And, I mean, there's not room for anything else, really. One thing one thing I do find cool, but also annoying as hell in this car, is it does have a safe. Now, this safe is pretty cool because, yeah, you can lock things in here, important things you don't want to get stolen. However, I find it annoying because the fuel door release is right here, and every single time you want to release the fuel door, you have to come over here, unlock this, open this up. You know, I find it very annoying, and I haven't figured out if you can actually just leave this unlocked yet. If there is, let me know, but I haven't figured it out yet, and I just find that very annoying that every single time I need to put fuel in this car, I have to come over here, unlock this box, flip it up. You know, it's just annoying. I would much rather have a fuel release button over here somewhere, or somewhere else where it's just readily available. I can push it instead of having to go through a whole process every time I want to put fuel into my vehicle. Now, coming on over to the trunk, you do have a lot of space in here. Please ignore this. All I need to do is get pins for these up here, but please ignore this. However, there is quite a lot of room in here to put a lot of stuff, fit a lot of bags in here. So storage space in the trunk is pretty good. Now, a neat feature that this car has is soft closing trunk. So basically it's self-explanatory. Basically, you just have to shut the trunk like this, and it'll shut itself. Alright, now coming on over to the Lincoln Mark 8. Now this particular Mark 8 right here, this was actually my very first car that I saved from a field. This car had been sitting in a field from, I suspect, around 2004, 2005 to I got it in about 2017 and restored it, replaced the airbags, you know, the whole 9 yards. Something I forgot to mention is these cars actually both have Motorcraft air suspension on them. The Mark 7s actually do not leak at all. However, the Mark 8, the fronts do tend to leak, but the rears do not. But both of these cars have Motorcraft air suspension on them. So I just think that's a neat touch I would like to show y'all. Alright, so on to the looks of the Mark 8. You know, it's the eye, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And at first, I was not a fan of this car and its looks at all. Now over time the looks have grown on me, but I think to the everyday eye, normal person, they would find that the Mark 7 is a much nicer car. The Mark 8 just has a very different and unique shape to it. What they were trying to do is they were trying to capture the big body American luxury coupes design of the 1970s, but with also the futuristic look of the 90s. But yeah, I mean, these cars are both just two totally different animals. You know, you've got the Fox body platform on the right and the MN12, or I believe that's what it's called, MN or FN12 platform over here, basically the Ford Thunderbirds and the Mercury Cougars of the 80s and 90s. But alright, but we'll go to the engine of this car. So I was just editing the video and I came back and noticed there's some key points I left off about the Mark 8's engine. Yeah. So the Mark 8 has the double overhead cam 4.6 liter V8, which at the time this engine was just at miles ahead of the competition. For comparison, when this car came out in 1993, it boasted 280 horsepower with, I believe, around 290 pound-feet of torque. Now comparatively, the Mustang GT from 1993 made 215 horsepower, and the Mustang Cobra from 1993 made 240 horsepower. In 1993, this car boasted a 14.9 second quarter-mile time at, I believe, 96 or 98 miles per hour. Now, compare that to the Mustang Cobra from the same year. The Mustang Cobra in 1993 was running quarter-mile times of about 15.2 to 15.3 at about at about 89 to 90 miles per hour. Now, considering this car comes from the factory with 308 gears, you swap in a set of 373s or 410s, and this car will run 13s bone stock from the factory. I mean, that was insane for the 90s, for a stock car to come out being that. I mean, now today's times, you know, a 13, 14 second pass is nothing to write home about, but at the time, I mean, that was saying something. I mean, from the factory to run high 14s and simply just swap out gears and you're back into the 13s. I mean, it was insane. Now, also comparatively, I'm sure that's probably not even a word, but the 0 to 60 time of this car was about 6.6 seconds. Now, compared to the Mustang Cobra did it at about 6.5. But to even say that these two cars are in the same realm, performance-wise, is just silly. You wouldn't expect a car that looks like this to perform like it does, you know? It's just something that no one really expects, and that's another thing I absolutely love about this car, is it just doesn't look how it acts. You know, this car is kind of like that rich uncle that comes to all the family gatherings but doesn't ever really talk to anybody and stays to his own and minds his own business. But then when Uncle Ron, he has too much to drink, you know, he comes over talking shit to that rich uncle. You know, that rich uncle's got something under his sleeve that nobody really expects, you know what I mean? Now, given this car was twice the price of a Mustang GT, a Mustang GT in 1993, I think, was around $19,000 to $20,000, and for a Mustang Cobra was about $26,000 to $27,000, whereas these cars started out around $36,000 to $38,000 and optioned out could go anywhere from $40,000 to $42,000 in 1993, where in today's money that's around $60,000. So yeah, you got all this performance. Yeah, you could outperform that Mustang, but you're going to pay the price tag to do it. You could have just got that Mustang for 20 grand, put 10 grand worth of mods, and spanked the shit out of this Lincoln. However, from the factory, if you wanted this performance, you paid the price. If you wanted this amount of luxury, you paid the price. If you wanted the combination of extreme luxury, extreme performance, you paid the price for it, and I think it was worth it. If I had the money to buy one of these, if I had $40,000 to buy a car in 1993, I think this is the car I would buy, to be honest. So, damn wind. So the suspension on the Lincoln Mark 8, it is four-wheel, independently controlled by the air suspension system. It has, these, I would also like to point out, these headlights are absolutely pointless at nighttime. They are just terrible. Absolutely worst headlights I have ever seen on a car. This car, I am actually scared for my life to drive this car at nighttime. They are that bad. Another fun fact about this car, I believe when they were testing these cars, they took them out to the Bonneville Salt Flats to kind of see what this double overhead cam modular engine could do. And this car did a two-way average of 183 miles per hour on the Bonneville, on the Bonneville Salt Flats. Please bear with me. My Mark 8 is not in the best condition interior-wise. Mechanically, she is very sound, but the interior, from sitting in that field for a very long time, did not age well. The seats have a lot of cracks in them, and the doors are very faded. The wood trim is broken and cracked pretty bad, so please bear with me. This is not the cleanest Gen 1 Mark 8 you will find, so I'll try to just be a little blunt with it. Alright, so coming into the Mark 8's interior, now first impressions is, wow. It really, it gives you this cockpit feeling, like you're kind of in a fighter jet, because the radio and everything is tilted directly towards the driver. The buttons, everything is tilted directly towards the driver. Everything is a hand reach away, and from some research that I've done, this interior was designed to just be super simple everything to be a hand reach away from the driver. The driver does not have to reach for anything that he needs to do. I mean, seriously, it's just super intuitive and just amazing, and everything is so simple and easy to use. And I will say the climate controls in this car are amazing. Super simple. You know, if you just want the AC to blow, you just have to flick this little buddy and she'll kick on. It's not like that one where it is super simple. It's not like the Mark 7 where there's 100 buttons. It has the annoying automatic mode that will kick on sometimes. This one is just super simple to use, and this one does have automatic, if you would like it, automatic climate control, but I find myself when I do use the air conditioning, I just push this thing and it goes to the exact setting that I have it set to. Super simple to use, super intuitive, just simple. Alright, now let's talk about the seats in the Mark 8. And they're terrible. Absolutely terrible. Compared to the Mark 7, these seats feel like rocks. Now, Gen 2 Mark 8's seats were a big improvement. I've owned two Gen 2 Mark 8s, a 97 and a 98, and the seats in a Gen 2 were just way better, night and day. I don't know what they were thinking with the Gen 1s, but they kind of feel like, you know, it's not plush, and it doesn't feel sporty like it holds me in at all. It really just feels like I'm sitting on a seat. You know, just a car seat, a normal car seat. There's nothing really wow that you can say about them. You know, these are supposed to be comfortable cars, but these seats really are kind of the biggest downside to this car's interior. Now let's talk about storage space in the Mark 8, and it's actually pretty damn good. Over here you have your map pockets, you have door pockets in the doors, which I really like. If I need to throw things, yes, I have a screwdriver because I was doing something with this. Yes, I do have a screwdriver in here because, you know, you never know when you'll need one. But, yeah, you have map pockets where you can store change, loose change, everything. You actually have a usable cup holder in this car. Please ignore the fuses and the broken glass. This is one of my projects at the moment. You have this as well, and the cigarette lighter is over here. If you ever needed to use it, I guess. But yeah, super simple, super intuitive. You actually have a usable cup holder, whereas in the Mark 8, I don't even know what the hell they were thinking when they designed that shit. Now on to the gauges in the Lincoln Mark 8. I really like these gauges. They're super simple. You've got your temp and your fuel. The fuel gauge doesn't work in this car. But super simple, super intuitive. Everything right there. They're pretty decently sized. You know, for a luxury car, they don't really look the luxurious part, but you know, they work, and that's all that matters. Something somebody said to me, or not to me, but they commented on the Lincoln Mark 8 forums, is that a Gen 1 Mark 8 is a sports car with luxurious tendencies, and the Gen 2 Mark 8 is a luxury car with sporty tendencies. And they couldn't have been more right. I mean, this car, not really the nicest on the inside, not really luxurious and groundbreaking. It does have a really nice, and it has the sweeping lines that go all the way across the car, so it does look unique, and it does look pretty cool. But as far as being luxurious and nice, I can't really say that much. Now coming to the center computer over here. This one is super simple to use. Much better than the one in the Mark 7. You've got system check. This can check all your vitals, your pretty much anything and everything with the car. Yeah, so super simple, super easy to use. Check your economy, your status, the range till empty, which this is just a random number that it throws on the screen every time because the fuel gauge does not work. But yeah, that's the Mark 8's interior. Alright, so we're going to take the Lincoln Mark 7 out for a test drive. Yes. Nice. All right, so first impressions that you'll get when you get inside of a Lincoln Mark 7 is, so this one has the Motorcraft air suspension, and that rides amazing. This car absolutely gives you the feeling of riding on a cloud when you are driving down the road. I mean, it is just that smooth. The steering, you can steer it with your pinky. Everything is just super smooth, how a luxury car should be. You know, it's just so comfortable and so relaxing to drive. I love driving this car. I actually daily drive this car every day, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It is just, you know, bumps on the road do not exist at all, you know. Oh man, this car, just because of how smooth it is just so amazing to drive. It really is just a different experience from normal everyday cars. You know, it's not fast by any means, but it does have some pep, okay? You know, it gives you the right amount of power. You know, this car does not feel like it doesn't have the power. For everyday driving conditions, I find myself that this car just has all the power that it needs in every situation. I never feel myself having to put my pedal down more to get around certain situations. Just a super smooth, it accelerates smooth. Everything about it is just smooth and relaxed. Getting onto the highway now, I mean, this thing is an amazing highway cruiser. You set the cruise control now, and you can just sit back and relax just like this. You know, it's quieter in here. You can definitely hear outside a little bit of wind noise, but it is quiet. You don't really hear the road as much. Yeah, this car isn't fast by any means, but it has enough power for what you want to do. This one is bone stock. It does have Flowmaster mufflers, but other than that, this car is bone stock. I find it has enough power in any situation that I need it to. I never feel like it's down on power. It never feels like it doesn't have enough power to do something. Yeah, and that's all I can say about that, really. It cruises along nicely. I mean, the steering is smooth. Everything is just so smooth. However, when you do find yourself in those situations where you need to maneuver, make some emergency maneuvers, this car handles well too. But when this car is pushed, it answers. It doesn't back down to anything. I mean, this less going around this turn here. Oh, this thing. It gives you a nice level of confidence. It gives you a good enough amount of confidence to where, you know, okay, if I need to make this evasive maneuver, this car can do it. This car can handle it, and it's not going to be too bad. However, at higher speeds, say around 60, 70, 80, if I needed to make a maneuver at that speed, I do not feel that confidence whatsoever. When you turn at those speeds, like say you needed to like quickly jump over into another lane, I don't feel it feels like it's tipsy, you know, but I'm sure if I did and if I needed to, it would probably answer to it and it would do it fine, but it doesn't give you a high amount of confidence. Just because of the way the suspension is set up, it does float, it does feel floaty. Yeah, so I'm going about 50 right now. Just testing out the suspension to see what it will do. Yeah, if you needed to make a maneuver at a high amount of speeds, this car would be fine. It would do it just fine. It does feel a little like it's, it doesn't feel boaty in the turns. I would definitely not say that. It feels as though, oh my gosh. The brakes are good too. I just had to slam on my brakes. There's a box in the middle of the road. I didn't want to hit it. I didn't know if anything was in it, but the brakes are good as well. So yeah, if I had to rate this car, handling is good. It's not great, but it is good, and it will answer to everything you need it to do. Ride quality is excellent, absolutely amazing. Most comfortable car I've ever driven. The seat's comfortable, the ride is smooth. You don't feel bumps at all. And yeah, so if I had to rate this car, I guess I'd give it an 8 out of 10, I guess. All right, so let's hop into the Mark 8. All right, so we're in the Lincoln Mark 8. I'm gonna start her up and get her going. I do not have a window right here. I apologize. The wind might be a little terrible, but just bear with me, please. All right, so first impressions on ride quality and the Lincoln Mark 8. You know, this car is just it's a way completely different car, platform-wise. You know, this car, what I'll say about this car is that this car rides smooth, but definitely not as smooth as the Mark 7. This car has a different type of smooth. I call this one, the Mark 8's smooth is just, it feels a lot more refined, a lot more, you know, just tight and balanced. The Mark 8, it cruises along nice. You know, you can feel the bumps, but it's not bad. It's just a really refined feeling, I would say, I guess. Now, as far as the engine and the transmission, this car drives smoother. And what I mean by that is the acceleration, the way the transmission shifts, the way the engine feels, the way everything feels. It feels smooth and refined, whereas the Mark 7 is just a very smooth, luxurious, pure luxury car feeling that can also handle when you need it to, whereas this feels on the highway. The Mark 8, you know, I can't really say that it rides smoother or it rides worse, because it's just two different feelings. You know, it rides smooth, but it's like a different type of smooth. It's a really refined smooth. It's a smooth that gives you a very high amount of confidence in the turns. I mean, you can take this car is just like a sports car in the truest sense. Go around this turn here. Amazing, just all the grip you would need. Let's give it another acceleration here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this car is like a totally different animal. This thing has amazing amounts of power. Amazing acceleration, and the higher you get into the RPMs, the harder it pulls. It just gives you a really, and man, it's a much different car than the Mark 7. Not even comparable to each other, honestly. This thing is just like a total different animal. Well, you know, when I went to Mexico, I think the fastest I've done in this car is the speedometer goes to 140. So anything above that, I don't know. But this car, it feels solid at high speeds. It feels composed. It feels like if you needed to make a turn or a brake at those higher speeds, it can do it, and it'll feel fine doing it. Going through these turns here. Oh my gosh. This thing, man, this thing is just so much fun to drive and just to go through corners in. It hugs the ground. it feels planted. It feels composed. It doesn't give you the feeling that it's gonna spin or you're gonna lose control. This car is super predictable at all times. Just amazing how this car handles. This is seriously a sports car in disguise. You know, the Mark 7 can handle well, and the Mark 7 will answer to the Mark 7 will answer to anything that you need it to do. But the Mark 8 just exceeds that. It'll do anything you need it to do and then some. This thing, I absolutely enjoy driving the Mark 8 because it does everything you ask it to. I mean, you need to throw it into a turn, it has got it. It is there. Brake. Yep, brakes are amazing. Amazing feel. Just feels planted to the ground at all times. You can go into corners at speed. That rear end and everything, the combination of the double overhead cam engine, it's just perfect. This is an amazing combination. Now, the weak point of this car would definitely be the transmission and the gearing situation. Opting for some 410s or 373s would be a lot more ideal. But I mean, this car, I'm gonna go through these turns again. I mean, it's just, the engine, it just screams. That engine, seriously. Man, oh my gosh, this thing just, it answers to everything that you need it to. I mean, this car does everything and then some. I mean, it handles like you would not believe. This is one of the best handling cars I've ever driven, and I've driven a lot of cars, but this one, the amount of confidence that the four-wheel independent suspension, I'm sure it could definitely be improved. This car does not have anything stock, sway bars, everything. It's perfectly fine. You know, you could throw on a rear sway bar. It would make the rear end a lot more play happy through the turns. It might oversteer a lot more, but the way it is now, I mean, I don't feel like it doesn't oversteer, it doesn't understeer. It does everything. It does everything amazing. Now is the fun part where I get to compare the two. So, ride quality. You know, the Mark 7's ride quality is excellent. The Mark 8's ride quality, I would say, is good. The Mark 8 doesn't ride harsh at all. It rides smooth, but it's a very more refined smooth. It doesn't feel floaty at all. It's smooth and it hugs the road. Like, at high speeds through turns, this thing just hugs the turns. It hugs the corners. It feels like an amazing amount of confidence going through turns. So, ride quality is going to go to the Mark 7. The Mark 7 rides smoother for everyday, just normal driving. The Mark 7, I would say, is excellent ride quality. The Mark 8, I would say, is good. Handling, the Mark 7 is good. It will do what you need it to do, but the Mark 8 is just mind-blowing. For what this car is, for the way that this car looks, you would not expect it. If you took somebody, a professional driver, told them to get into this car and drive it, the way that it drives, they would not expect it from the looks of this car. It would totally throw them off because this thing, it drives so well. It handles so well. This platform is absolutely amazing. This platform was ahead of its time at the time in the 80s and 90s. You know, there's nothing to compare it to, I guess. in this segment. Now, as far as comfort goes, comfort in the Mark 7 is excellent, whereas I would say in the Mark 7 it is good. I say that because in the Mark 7, the seat is comfortable, the ride is comfortable, everything is just refined, or not refined, everything is smooth in that car, super floaty. This one, it's a refined smooth. It doesn't give you the floatiness of the Mark 7. It gives you more of a planted feeling smooth. You know, you don't really feel the bumps as much. They're there, you'll feel them, but not as much compared to the Mark 7. And yeah, that's really all I can say about that. I guess that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I did a good enough job comparing the two. And yeah, peace out.